Hey, Mike here with Canadian musician, and with me today is Chris Slorach, bassist for awesome Canadian hardcore band Metz. First off, Chris, well, thank you for joining me, first off, I should say.
Thanks for having me.
No worries. And other thing is, congratulations on recently being shortlisted for the Polaris Prize. I guess, did you guys see, given the critical reaction that this album has received, which has been overwhelmingly positive, did you see the Polaris Prize nod coming?
I don't know if it's something you can really ever see coming, because I'm not really entirely sure how they decide who's being nominated or whatnot. Mm-hmm. The long list was, we were pretty amazed to be on the long list. Then when we got shortlisted, we were completely blown away. It's been, it was a really amazing surprise, and I think it's not wise for anybody to expect anything. So, regardless of how the critics respond to the record, I think we were all, pessimistically optimistic about the whole thing.
That's a good way of putting it.
But yeah, I think, we're really amazed and excited to be on the short list.
Fair enough, and I can't say for myself that I was surprised. It was definitely, and I'm not exaggerating or anything here, it really was one of my favorite Canadian albums this year. But
oh, thank you.
The album, you guys, along with your producer Graham Walsh, who many people may know from Holy Fuck, you guys did a great job of taking your live energy and really getting it on the record. What was that recording process like? Did you guys record live in the studio?
No, actually, we're all working pretty regular full-time jobs, so we didn't have a whole lot of time to go and blast out a record. Like, you couldn't just spend 2 weeks just working straight. So we all took off up to a cabin with Graham to make an attempt at recording these songs. And we came out of that with the drums, because the space was really great. Mm-hmm. So over the next 3 months after that, we were sort of doing evenings and weekends in another studio with Alex Bonenfant.
Okay.
He was doing, between him and Graham, they engineered the record. So yeah, no, we didn't play it live. We kind of just we kind of tore it apart and spent a lot of time making sure our sounds were right. So. The bass and the drums, a lot of that stuff was recorded together, but we would pull certain sounds from certain parts, and we figured the studio was sort of a place to get creative, so we messed around with it quite a lot.
Cool. That idea of retreating to a cabin, was that, I guess, to create atmosphere purely for the sonic qualities of it?
It was more of an opportunity than anything else. We were speaking to Graham when he sort of approached us about potentially recording our record, and he was like, "Well, my buddy has this cabin, and I've recorded a few things. It's not really just a cabin, or what was it? It was like a barn, right? So it's this big barn, but it's converted into like a soundproof practice space.
Oh, cool.
So it's got really high ceilings, so it's kind of ideal for recording drums and making them sound really exaggerated and large. So going out there, it was more of an opportunity rather than a planned attempt to make something.
Well, it makes sense, because the drums sound mega on the record. But you guys did wait, I believe it was around 5 years between the formation of Metz and when your self-titled debut actually came out. I guess those years of formulating your sound and really coming together as a band, I'm guessing would help with, there's part of the reason why the album, I guess, sounds so solid. Would you recommend to other bands kind of waiting that long before they rush into the studio?
I think all of this depends on the band, really. For us, we were a bunch of guys who were friends who were just playing music together, and so we were enjoying playing shows around our jobs, and then doing minimal tours whenever we could. And we put out music whenever we sort of had something we were ready to put out. We didn't really feel that we had a full album of songs for a little while, and we were practicing a couple times a week, and then eventually, we had this batch of songs that really seemed to work well together. So we thought we were ready to put out a record. We were ready to put out a record. I mean, I think it's important for bands to spend a bit of time getting to know what they're doing and what they want to do, and wrapping their head around the idea of getting out and playing and making sure that their live show's good and whatnot. But for us, it was just sort of, we just did things as it felt natural, and that's sort of the nature of this whole band. Is we do things when it seems to make sense, and when that record was written, it just seemed to make sense to record it and put it out.
Fair enough. And the songwriting process with yourself and Alex and Hayden, I guess, what is that like? Do you all contribute to the songwriting?
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah, it's a pretty communal songwriting process. We all just kind of get in the room together, put our instruments on, start banging away. Sometimes someone will have like a little piece of this or a little piece of that, and we'll expand on it. But for the most part, especially with all the songs that we've got up till now, it's been a complete collective effort.
Okay.
We write everything together.
Cool. And I guess you'd have to say that when the album came out, even now, it's not exactly a commercial high point for loud punk and hardcore trios. So has the success of the album, I guess, surprised you in any way, and were you really planning on that?
Oh, I mean, I don't think there's any way to really gauge the success of anything before you actually do it. So everything that's happened has been a complete, it's mind-blowing, you know? We didn't expect it. We expected to be able to tour a bit and do whatever, but the record came out and people seemed to really like it. So, yeah, no, we weren't expecting this at all. Like, there wasn't a single indication that this was going to go the way that it did. Yeah. Before we put out the record.
And you guys weren't signed to Sub Pop, who is now your current label, when you were recording the album, right?
No, we recorded it and then we started speaking to those guys after it was finished.
Then how did that signing with Sub Pop come about?
I mean, it was kind of a natural thing, you know. We sent over a few demos back in the day of some stuff that we were working on. They seemed interested, so when we finished the record, we sent that over, and everything went quiet for about 3 weeks. Didn't hear anything from them, and then I got a message from them saying that they're interested in putting out the record. So months and months and months of contract negotiation and us finishing the masters on the record and revising mixes and sequencing and whatnot. We ended up signing with that label last June, I guess. Not last June, but the June before.
Very cool. And obviously Sub Pop in the alternative universe is a huge deal. The label kind of brought people Nirvana, Mudhoney, Soundgarden, and it was kind of at the epicenter of the alt-rock scene in the late 80s, early 90s there. Did that history really enter into your guys' mind? Was that a factor in your decision at all?
Well, we grew up on a lot of that stuff, you know. Like, we're all in our 30s, so growing up on that music, yeah, absolutely, it's something that's been a big influence. But I've always had a lot of respect for that label because, like, I find Sub Pop, as much as you can credit them for sort of grunge and whatnot, they put out a ton of other records over the last little while, like ranging from folk music to hip hop to like straight up electronic dance music. Or I always just kind of felt like those guys were really into the idea of putting out good music. And the label, it was just one of those things. Like, we didn't really shop the record around too much, but it felt like it would fit there. So, yeah, I mean, it was probably like a dream to put out a label, put out a record on the label like Sub Pop that we all kind of sat with for most of our lives, not thinking that we'd ever have the opportunity. So, yeah, they were sort of a first choice, and we were lucky enough that they were the only people we needed to talk to. Fair
enough, and you're right. They have really branched out. I believe Fleet Foxes and Beach House are also on Sub Pop nowadays.
Yeah, and Washed Out, and Shabazz Palaces, and Dissatisfaction, and they put out the Postal Service.
It's a killer roster. And,
yeah, they're all over the place.
But you guys often get compared to a number of the alt-rock bands of that period we were talking about in the late 80s and 90s, like Jesus Lizard and the Pixies and that sort of thing. Are those comparisons, are they, I guess, an accurate representation of who your influences actually are?
I would say no. I mean, we all like those bands. We spend a lot of time listening to those bands. But I think our influences are, less and less heavy music. I don't think a lot of us listen to very much heavy music. I mean, I love the Pixies and I love the Jesus Lizard. But I don't spend a whole lot of time listening to music like that these days. I think it's from spending so much time around music like that, it just sort of makes you want to look for something new. So you dig back through your collections and you find the things you may have skipped over at one point.
Has that always been the case? Have you never been that into heavy music, or is that kind of a new?
No. I mean, don't take it the wrong way. I listen to a lot of heavy. In my collection, I have tons and tons of heavy music. I love the stuff. Like, I love all the bands that we're compared to and whatnot. But as of late, like, I don't think that we listen to a lot of that stuff. Our music is more of a reaction to the way that each other play.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And there's probably deep influences from like heavy music culture. I mean, it's obvious there's deep influences there, but I think our influences are coming from different places these days.
Okay.
Is all I'm trying to say.
Sorry, in that regard, have you guys started working or at least formulating an idea for a follow-up record?
Yeah, I mean, I think the second this record was done, we were already thinking about the next one.
Really?
So, I mean, we've been on tour since last September with about 6 weeks off the entire time. And our tour schedule is actually only just about to let up right now. Mm-hmm. So we go back to Europe in about a week. And then after that, we come home and we're going to be writing and recording as much as possible.
Right. Are you able to tell at this point what kind of record it'll be in comparison to the first, or is it too early?
I think it's going to be, it'll be a natural progression. I think it's always important to take steps take steps forward and grow as a band, because our band actually sounds very different now than what it did when we first started. Mm-hmm. But I think the next record will be, this will be a fast, hard record. But, some focus, we always have a lot of focus on melodies and, vocal hooks and, keeping the music as interesting as possible for us and hopefully for everybody else. But I think the main point for us is just to keep ourselves interested in what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I found that's one of the things that really separates Metz from a lot of the other, bands that could be labeled hardcore or whatever you want to call it, is that you guys really have an obvious affinity for craftsmanship or songwriting and melody and that kind of thing, like you said.
Thank you.
Did you find that, I guess, within that hardcore scene that gets lost, or have you guys just been able to hone it in a different manner than others?
I really don't know. I mean, the way that we write songs just seems like a really natural thing to us. Like, we write stuff that we're going to enjoy playing or listening to. So, I mean, I like music with a hook. I like something you can kind of hang on to. And like when you listen to a song and it gets stuck in your head. I like that kind of thing. And I don't know if it's totally a normal thing with the genre of music, I guess, we're playing in, but I don't think that should force anybody to exclude anything. Mm-hmm. If you enjoy it, you should just do it. For us, I like melody, so we try and put it in our music as much as possible.
Fair enough. And I guess lastly, have you guys been able to, ditch the side gigs and take on the band full time, or you still juggling everything?
No, we're actually only really doing the band right now. It's the scheduling just hasn't really allowed us to keep jobs or to do anything else.
Yeah,
we were all freelance workers before this, and eventually we'll go back to working. But while we're away, while we're doing this and while we're traveling all the time, there's not an employer in their right mind that would hire anyone.
I'm sure you guys were just heartbroken about having to take on the band full time.
Yeah, it's such a bummer,
All right, Chris, but unfortunately I gotta let you go, but this has been great. It's fantastic talking to you, and again, congratulations on the Polaris Prize nod, and good luck with the final announcement.
Thank you so much.
All right.